Good morning, everybody. What is up, and welcome back. Being new here, I'm Liz, your host here at Untold, and today we're going to be talking about the death investigation of Matthew Perry. Matthew Langford Perry, born back on August 19th of 1969, was famously known for playing Chandler Bing on Friends. He also played on other sitcoms, The West Wing, Ally McBeal, stuff like that. He was also in the movies The Whole Nine Yards, Whole 10 Yards. Those are hilarious movies. But a lot of people didn't know about his severe addiction issues, which would lead to his downfall, unfortunately. For a good portion of his life, he suffered from dealing with an addiction to alcohol and to various narcotics. He was a part of he became an advocate for the National Association of Drug Court Professionals after he was successful in rehabilitating himself during his recovery. He also received an award from the White House Office of National Drug Control Policy. That was in 2013. And he ended up releasing his memoir back in 2022, which is Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing. Unfortunately, he would end up dying due to addiction-related issues. On October 28th of 2023, Matthew Perry was found unresponsive. He was found unresponsive in the hot tub of his pool area at his home in LA. He would be pronounced dead at the age of 54 at 4:17 p.m. that day. It was a very sad day. I remember getting the update and I was like, "Oh my goodness." And my sister texted me. She's like, "Are you okay?" I was like, "I'm fine." Matthew Perry is one of those actors that I really loved, and I loved Chandler Bing because he was just a unique character. You don't see people like that, and people like that don't last long in life, if you will. And unfortunately, that's what happened here. His death was ruled to be an accident because, unfortunately, his death revealed acute effects of ketamine, and it included effects of buprenorphine and drowning, and also that he was suffering from coronary artery disease. So buprenorphine is actually very common in the addiction world. Another name is called Subutex. That is actually the brand name of it, and this helps opioid users treat any pain they have. So chronic pain, acute pain, any of that. You can get it injected in your cheek, a skin patch, put underneath your tongue, so sublingual. It's buccal, sublingual, or transdermal. And some people end up using it, unfortunately, for their addiction. He also suffered from CID, coronary artery disease, which involves blood flow of the cardiac muscle. It builds up, and so there's plaque in the arteries, so there's no blood flow. Those with the mix of ketamine that he had, it probably reared him unconscious, so he would have fallen into the hot tub and drowned. The LAPD ended up determining the dose of his ketamine that caused his death. Now, this dose that caused his death was very large, and this is what triggered the death investigation for his case. The case was opened in May of 2024, so this year, and 5 people have been charged in connection to this case. There was a press conference that was held yesterday, and the U.S. Attorney for the Central District of California, his name is Martin Estrada, he announced the charges against the 5 different defendants who knew what they were doing was wrong and then tried to cover up what they did. He also said that these defendants then profited off of Matthew Perry and his well-being and ended up warning others about engaging in the similar situation that they did. So these 5 include a ex-director. His name is Eric Fleming. His biggest accomplishment is directing season 1 of This Surreal Life, which is ridiculous. Then we have 2 doctors, his live-in assistant, and then a known drug dealer called the Ketamine Queen of North Hollywood. So the two doctors that were arrested on Thursday is Josephine Saga, who's known as the Ketamine Queen. And, oh, sorry, she wasn't a doctor. She's a drug dealer. One of the two doctors that was arrested was Dr. Salvador Plasencia, who's known as Dr. P. They were charged with one count of conspiracy to distribute ketamine, but that's not all. Josephine Saga, or the Ketamine Queen. I really like that moniker. That's quite nice. So it says that the Ketamine Queen distributed ketamine on October 24th, 2023, and that's the dose that caused Matthew Perry's death 4 days later. She's also, yep, the Ketamine Queen is also being charged with one count of maintaining drug-involved premises, possession with intent to distribute, 5 counts of distribution, and 1 count of possession with intent to distribute. She's also charged with 7 counts of distribution of ketamine, along with 2 altering and falsifying documentation and records relating to a federal investigation. So she's under, yeah. If she is convicted, she could face up to 10 years in prison. Dr. Plasencia could face up to 10 years in federal prison for ketamine-related the ketamine-related counts against her, Salvador, and up to 20 years for each count relating to the records, the falsifying documentation. Nice. They were both arraigned in court yesterday. There's also, during this press conference, they also talked about text messages that were sent between Plasencia and another doctor, which is Dr. Chavez, Dr. Mark Chavez. He pled guilty Thursday to one count of conspiracy to distribute. So that's the other doctor that was arrested in this case. My apologies if that confused you guys. So we have the Queen of Ketamine, we have Dr. Plasencia, and then Dr. Chavez. And then we'll talk about the other two in a second. The other two in a second. So within documentation that was unsealed yesterday, it talked about the distribution of ketamine that caused the death of Matthew Perry. These documents also revealed that in September of 2023, Dr. Plasencia learned about the addiction history of Matthew Perry and how he was interested in getting ketamine. Obviously, once he learned about this interest, this is when they then obtained the ketamine and then sold it to Matthew Perry from the doctor, Dr. Chavez, which is the one that pled guilty. Also in text messages that they have, which is between Dr. Plasencia and Dr. Chavez, Plasencia says, "I wonder how much this moron will pay." It's really rude and mean. Between September and October, this is when Dr. Plasencia then gave, obviously, the sale happened of the ketamine to Matthew Perry and Kenneth Iwamasa, which I think that's his personal assistant. And he's the one that gave Matthew Perry the drug on the day that he indeed died. The autopsy was released also, like they re-talked about the autopsy and everything, talking about the buprenorphine, talking about his CAD and the drowning, noting that there were factors in his death, but they weren't the primary cause of his death. His death was ruled as an accident, but the primary cause of his death was the overdose. If he was found when he was overdosing, he probably would have been brought back to life. And I'm assuming so, since they did add in his autopsy report that he was clean for 19 months prior to this. Even with him being clean, he would have had Narcan in his house if he was overdosing. He was a smart man. He's been through this round and round again, or he had been through this round and round again. Pretty sure he would have had Narcan handy, or his assistant would have had Narcan handy. There's no way that he wouldn't have had Narcan handy in order to not OD. Pretty sure that Kenneth Iwamasa and Eric Fleming were the ones that were at his house the day of the murder, because it says that Fleming was the one that gave him the injection, or an injection that caused his death, resulting in his death. But Iwamasa also said he gave him multiple injections on October 28th, 2023. I'm assuming so too, that another one of the 5 were also there as well. That way they could make sure that nothing would be found on the grounds, because even when they found his body, there was no drugs or alcohol present. There was nothing present, hence why it looked like he just drowned, or that he fell unconscious and he drowned. I know that they did talk about him having ketamine infusion therapy, which I do know is a thing, which is probably why it took them a long time to break into this as a death investigation. But still, there's no no. What do you guys think? Leave it in a comment down below. I want to know what you think about this case. It's all sorts of, oh my goodness, and it feels so wrong. It just feels so wrong. They did him so wrong. He was just a harmless man who, yes, he fell back into his disease, but still, you profited off of this man and his pain that he dealt with for years. It's sad. It's gross. No. Again, what do you think? Leave it in a comment down below. I'd love to know, and I'll see you guys in my next one.